As for Johan, he was born in the Czech Republic, to be exact, in Prague. His father died in combat, and his name is still unspecified. He was just an extra character, not even a side character, poor guy. He was a German Czechoslovakian soldier, though. Johan's mother, Věra Černá, was a participant in a eugenics experiment led by Arada Franz Bonaparte. Bonaparte is a pretty noteworthy figure in Monster, as he's involved in many of its crucial mysteries. He can do a lot of things. He's a psychologist, psychiatrist, neurosurgeon, and a maker of children's books. He's pretty multi-talented. The goal of the experiment was to create the perfect child, one with exceptional intelligence, flawless appearance, and the ability to lead the human race. Johan and his twin sister Nina were born as a result of this experiment. Johan and Nina were taken to the Red Rose Mansion where they read The Nameless Monster by Emil Scherb. Well, it wasn't exactly Emil Scherb who wrote it, which probably doesn't even exist, but Bonaparte himself. Well, it probably wasn't Emil Scherb who wrote it, which probably doesn't exist, but Bonaparte himself. He used Emil Scherb as a fake name, and the book was designed to erase the children's personalities and emotions. The Nameless Monster had a blank page at the end where the reader could write their own name and become the monster. Johan wrote his name there and accepted his role as the monster. He also tried to influence Nina to do the same, but she resisted. After Johan's mother, I'll just call her Cherna, is released from confinement, she and the twins move into the Three Frogs apartment in Prague. She dresses both of her children as identical girls to make them appear as though she had a single child. In 1981, Bonaparte and his assistant, Petr Kapek, came to one of the twins for further experimentation. They forced Cherna to choose which one to give up. At first, she handed over Johan, but then she changed her mind and gave up Nina instead. This event impacted Johan for the rest of his life, as he felt betrayed by his mother and abandoned by his sister. This shows how different Ayanokoji and Johan's childhoods were. Johan's childhood was far more violent, complex, and dark than Ayanokoji's. He witnessed the horrors of the world and was brainwashed to become a killing machine. Unlike Johan, who encountered various people in his life, Ayanokoji was isolated in the White Room. He might have seen some people there, but he didn't learn much from them, as their names or who visited the White Room from outside. They also had some similarities. They both grew up in isolation, abuse, and experimentation by their organizations. However, they also had different childhoods in terms of how they coped with their situations and what they wanted from life. A perfect soldier and a perfect human. It's identical but distinct. Ayanokoji became more passive and secretive, while Johan became more active and ambitious. Ayanokoji sought normalcy and peace, while Johan sought destruction and chaos. Ayanokoji remained loyal to his father's ideals, while Johan rebelled against his adopted father's plans. I know what you're thinking. Why did I tell you so much about Johan's childhood and so little about Ayanokoji's? Do I have something against Johan for telling his suffering so much? No. It's just that Johan's childhood was much more complicated and full of connections, while Ayanokoji's was just the White Room. But don't get me wrong, Ayanokoji's childhood was not that simple either, as you know if you read the light novel. These two childhoods shaped their personalities and goals. As a result, Ayanokoji is a calm, composed person who doesn't show much emotion or interest in anything. He doesn't have any friends or hobbies, and he doesn't care about his grades or reputation. He only acts when he has to protect himself or someone he cares about. Well, maybe more like a tool. As for Johan, he's a charismatic and manipulative person who can charm anyone with his words and smile. He can pretend to be anyone he wants. He can influence and control others. He also has a hidden agenda he doesn't reveal until later in the story. And there's one major difference. Ayanokoji doesn't try to be the monster while Johan does. Ayanokoji is passive and reactive. He stays in the background and watches others. He has no ambition or desire to change anything. He wants a peaceful, normal life away from the White Room. Johan is active and proactive. He goes into the spotlight and controls others. He has a grand ambition and desire to destroy everything. He wants chaos and an abnormal life away from his past. They are both shaped by their childhoods, but they also make their own choices and face their own consequences. Johan is the monster while Ayanokoji is the observer. The third point I want to discuss is the difference between their intelligence and the theme of their anime. Classroom of the Elite is not a dark anime. It targets teenagers who enjoy school life, comedy, and romance. Monster is a dark anime. It targets adults who enjoy thriller, drama, and horror. The difference affects how their intelligence is portrayed and required in their stories. Ayanokoji is smart and manipulative, but less than Johan. His intelligence is used to solve school problems such as exams, competitions, and conflicts. He faces no serious threats or dangers, and he doesn't have any moral dilemmas or regrets. He can easily outsmart and control his classmates and teachers, but he doesn't have a grand scheme or purpose. Johan's intelligence is on another level. He is a genius who can master any skill, language, or profession. He can manipulate and control others who he meets, from politicians to criminals. He faces many enemies and obstacles, and he has to deal with his past and his identity. He has a complex and twisted plan that involves creating a new world order. He also has a deep understanding of human psychology and emotions, which he uses to his advantage. Their intelligence also reflects their childhoods. Basically, the intelligence of a character is relative to their plot and the scope of their story. For example, Monster spans across the world, or at least a continent, while Ayanokoji is stuck to a special school or maybe a large organization. For example, let's look at Kira and how the plot affected him. Light should have been smarter than L, but he was designed to be cocky and arrogant, so if you haven't finished Death yet, which I doubt is the case, pause the video now. Anyways, he ended up dying because of that. Finally, I wanted to address the question, why do people compare Johan and Ayanokoji? The simple answer is, because it's fun and entertaining. Some people compare Johan and Ayanokoji because they're both smart and manipulative characters who can control others. I mean, you don't see many people comparing totally different characters like Satoru or Moomin Rider and Goku. I say not many because I'm sure some people still do that kind of thing. Johan has some impressive feats, like he can easily sway politicians and criminals. And obviously you can add more. Teenagers and students are more naive and gullible than adults and politicians. Also, being a politician is a significant role, which gives Johan a plus point because it's not easy to manipulate someone who has a higher social hierarchy. If we ignore the plot-dependent factors, Johan would still be more manipulative than Ayanokoji. For example, in chess, Ayanokoji might win because of his rational and logical thinking, but Johan can't lose that easily. In terms of manipulation, Johan is much smarter and better than Ayanokoji. He can and wants to be in the spotlight, he can play a major role and control everyone. He is charismatic, a smooth talker, unlike Ayanokoji who prefers to be in the shadows and stay quiet with his poor social skills. Johan has an exceptionally high IQ of over 250, while Ayanokoji has an even higher one. Johan was born with perfect genes, unlike Ayanokoji, who is still somewhat of a mystery. The White Room was created to make the perfect human, while Kinderhelm 511 was created to make the perfect soldier, as said before. They have different purposes and methods. White Room aimed to produce a human with superior abilities in every field, such as academics, sports, martial arts, and survival skills. On the other hand, Kinderhelm 511 aimed to produce a soldier with extreme loyalty and obedience. The White Room focused on enhancing individual potential, while Kinderhelm 511 focused on erasing individual identity. Also, I want to just talk about one more thing. How would things change if they swapped places? Well, it's not hard to imagine. Johan would probably try to take over the school and use it for his own schemes if he was in Ayanokoji's world. Ayanokoji, on the other hand, would probably try to keep a low profile and stay out of trouble if he was in Johan's world. He might also encounter some threats from some factions, especially ones who are violent and ruthless. But that's all there is to it. Their worlds suit them, and switching them would make it less appealing.